So as you can see, the kids thought the call was cool. Mom showed the kids the car. They were kind of excited because it was a Tesla car. I'm glad there are still people like this out there. I have to remind myself that the violent left is a fringe minority, and I have to agree.
Are you finished?
I mean, this is exactly what innovation inspires. Kids are curious. They wonder, like, wow, we don't need to promote fear.
His name was Daniel Clark Pounder, 24-year-old. He faces 20 years in federal prison after he allegedly firebombed the Tesla charging station. And that is so that's a 24-year-old just got 20 years in prison. You know, arguably
he's facing it.
He's facing 20 years, which is like, whoa. I get it. Maybe they're using terrorism charges. Don't get roped up in this. Don't think it's fun.
They should punish them as a means to deter other people. Unfortunately, the people that have already done these things, they have decided to do these things. This is terrorism. It's not a question of whether or not it's terrorism. It clearly is. They're doing it in an effort to intimidate and frighten people. They're destroying property. They're committing violent acts. They need to be made an example of.
I don't agree with 20 years, but he was charged, I believe, with the possibility of 20. I felt invincible in my 20s, and I wasn't even angry. So I can imagine somebody in their 20s angry, justified by your ideology or your group. Yeah, it's kind of messed up. Nah, man, people have the right to protest. I'm like, yeah, but not burning stuff of other people that you don't even know if they like the person that you hate or not.
I wouldn't consider it terrorism if it was just random. A bunch of different cars all over the place were getting beat up. It's one company is getting targeted, which is why I consider it terrorism.
One company and the private property of individual citizens of the United States.
Let us investigate.
So I asked ChatGPT, the thing the guy burned, how much did it cost? So the recent arson attack at Tesla supercharger station in Littleton, Massachusetts resulted in the destruction of 7 charging stalls. Each supercharged stalls typically cost between $100,000 and $250,000 to install, including hardware and installation expenses. Bruh, you can burn a lot of stuff. Don't burn something that pricey and don't expect a consequence.
So what do you think of this anti-Elon Musk, anti-Tesla protest happening right here in Ottawa right now? What do you think of that?
One, I think it's ridiculous that's happening here in Ottawa, Canada, so far away from what Elon Musk is doing in America. Secondly, what has Elon Musk done to really ruin anybody's well-being or lives to warrant something like this? All he's been doing is he's been creating great companies that represent good values. He's trying to hopefully improve the environment with electric cars, although I mean, we can debate about whether or not the batteries are good for things like that. He just saved a bunch of astronauts from being stuck at the space station. Yes, that's his company that did that. But what's he doing for the American government? He's cutting waste and fraud. He's auditing them. Is that why we're mad at him?
And you know what? That's interesting because I had a conversation with some of these people earlier, asking them why do they hate Elon. First of all, they're going to throw he did a Nazi salute. What do you think about that Nazi salute? Apparently,
I think that is clearly a person who is socially awkward, saying his heart goes out to you, and it looked like a Nazi salute. He didn't think that through. Why would he publicly do a Nazi salute even if he was a Nazi?
Doesn't make any sense. So.
I mean, it's not ridiculous to say that. Like, if they're blaming you for something, you're not going to do it publicly on national television unless you clearly believe everybody that is there is one of those people. But then again, the people that you think is one of those people isn't doing that.
And they also told me, so I asked them, what has Elon done wrong? And the one answer they gave me is that Dodge. What do you think about Dodge?
No, I mean, so honestly, all Dodge has done is show waste and fraud. Like a lot of it's ridiculous waste.
It all looks really good, but they're actually wolf in sheep's clothing.
Bengadilo, remember to subscribe.
And we don't even know how much of that is people recycling money back in to their own pockets and making it actual fraud and washing.
Well, that's interesting because I brought that up to them. and about specifically the backroom deals and the kickbacks to left-wing groups. Because at these protests, even in the United States, look at them. It's a coordinated thing. It's in every city in the U.S. today.
I checked the website
and then there's the 50-50-01 or whatever, the big anti-Trump protests today. And if you look at all of these protests in all of these places, there's not one manufactured sign. It's all these cardboard cutout signs and homemade arts and crafts signs. You're not seeing those pre-made signs anymore. Is that a coincidence now that USAID is not funded? Like, what's going on there?
I'm a pattern recognition expert. I always thought how they get so much help these days sometimes. But you're right, when the money is gone and the quality is gone.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I mean, even his face says enough.
I mean, that is an interesting way to look at it, for sure. But I mean, I feel
they're
like
yelling Nazi truck alert as there is a cyber truck coming down. Yes. So we'll get that in a second, but man, what are you thinking about that USAID?
I think that was the one that was parked around back. Oh yeah, USAID was clearly one of the most fraudulent and wasteful companies in America. But I just, no matter what, I don't understand how Democrats or liberals in general are still looking at and seeing all of this and still think that they're on the right side of history.
I think it's an issue also with losing power. There's a dynamic there, and they're really influenced by what talking heads on TV say. Like, they take it to heart. They believe it almost full-heartedly. They don't question anything they're told. So when they hear this, they get really worked up and emotional. I really think that's the source of a lot of this. Is the stuff that's going on social media, the stuff especially on the TV news broadcast. Oh, Elon Musk is doing this, he's taking, lunch away from school children, and they hear that and they get upset. I think that's part of it. What do you think?
And well, honestly, I think, like, as far as the most recent cut, which I don't know if it was Doge that did it, but it had to do with the education system, the Department of Education. That is one of the things that maybe it would be a lot easier for people to argue, oh no, that's definitely very bad. We're taking money away from these schools. But when you really dig into it, what's that money ever done for the schools? The kids are coming out stupider and stupider and stupider every year.
Here comes the Tesla Cybertruck. Let's see how the crowd reacts.
Woo! Go Tesla!
Crowd not pleased by that Cybertruck coming through here. Sorry about that.
Look, I'm in Spain right now, and I saw how the way of thinking of America, especially during the special lockdown times, was coming over here. And I was worried about how they're going to teach their kids instead of math and those stuff. They were focusing very socially. They had a lot of kids that don't speak the language. They added kids with disability, like my kids that had autism. And I saw a way of learning was totally different. And one time I told them, why aren't you teaching my kid in a specific way? And they said, they have to like to learn. Until then, we can't teach them anything. And at that moment, I knew my kid is going to be behind. And now they admit it after 3 years.
So what has the Department of Education done? You look at, in Chicago, for example, I think there was a report a couple of days ago, dozens of schools where nobody can read at grade level.
Yeah.
So
I was hearing all about the fact that there are dozens of schools where these kids can barely read, and who knows, some of that might have to do with some of the year of no school because of COVID. It could have to do with a lot of things.
I agree. It has an issue with that, and I agree that even in Chicago, I don't think they have as much issue with the languages, but if they have issue with the same language, imagine a country that is so multicultural like Spain, where we have so many languages in one class.
Just overall, schools are bringing people, the education system is coming down a little bit, and to some extent it might be intentional, because how intelligent do they need us to be now when humans aren't even going to be doing most of the thinking going forward? The AI is going to be doing it, and that's the reality of it. Only our most brilliant are going to be needed. Anybody with an average brain isn't going to be needed to be doing any kind of thinking, and it's a lot better when you're not thinking, you're just following the message.
Man, so you think this is kind of leading to dystopia almost? This kind of...
this kind of thinking, definitely, if we push back against it and we let the pendulum swing back.
It's an interesting hat this guy's got here.
But no matter what, AI is going to be a problem.
Who's better, communist or Trump?
What?
Who's better, communist or Trump? Well, this is, man, you meet all kinds here. The communist is on his way to the bank, I guess. Can you write this stuff? You can't write this stuff. You cannot write this stuff.
I had to repeat that part. He actually said, who is better, communist or Trump? And he's happy with communism. Oh, this is Canada, right? Yeah, that is kind of communism under socialism. It's the same thing, just a different word, or it feels like that. Because you're just picking and choosing and telling me who is more important, and I don't have a choice.
All right, exactly. You just went to the bank. Oh. All right, so if you could say something to these people, what would your message to them be? Like, if you could really get something through to them, what would you communicate?
I really want them to do more research than the surface level, because I really don't understand how people could be against Elon Musk without doing proper research. And if they're only taking all their ideas from one source, one side of the aisle, like, I'm willing to absorb information from both sides. The other thing is, a lot of conservative figures nowadays, they're not even truly conservative. They're libertarians that flipped over. They're liberals that flipped over. Because the liberal side is nuts. It's insane. They're losing their mind, and that's why they're losing people.
Yeah, man, like Joe Rogan.
What's the last
like
conservative
Elon.
you heard of? What's the last conservative you heard of that flipped liberal?
Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
I never thought about it. Let me know in the comment section. Am I thinking like a liberal? Because the possibility is very high. I was supposedly a Democrat in 2000.
So are you here today to see this?
Yes.
All right,
I wanted
man.
to see, when I saw the poster...
The poster's ridiculous. The Tiananmen Square stuff, man.
Yeah,
like, that's insulting.
I don't know. I don't know that I saw anything crazy like that. I just saw that.
It's the poster that I saw.
City, and I said, hey, I want to see what these people look like. And luckily, they're all gray. So that's a good sign, because it means that the young people are smart enough to not be caught up in this garbage.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? I'll tell you, this poster was circulating on the Ottawa Reddit and other places. It was Tesla Takedown. And it's a picture of two Cybertrucks, I believe, in the Tiananmen Square style piece with a person standing in front of the Cybertrucks.
Okay, so yeah, that was what I saw, but I didn't
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. They think they're living in a war movie. And how insulting is that to the people who got massacred at Tiananmen Square?
I agree with him. I wish people did more research, even if they say my research was biased because I found what I wanted to see. I'm like, yeah, I can say you found what you wanted to hear. We found the middle ground. What are we going to do now? And if anything new you hate and you start burning cores, yeah, I believe you have something to hide.
Hey, yo, the same party that burned crosses in people's yards to intimidate them is the same party burning Teslas in people's yards to intimidate them.
And I think it's a little worse, because at least back then, if you were black, you could just hide a little and stay with the black people. Now, white, black, orange, green or yellow, whatever you want to be, you bought the wrong car of the people that they don't like.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde, kush, hash, purple, skunk, criollo, colombici, jam, jam, durloqueta, verdeta, welcome.